All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Um, I say ladies and gentlemen, but I don't know if there are any ladies in the crowd. If there are, please say hello. Like um, I think gamer girls are pretty rare, but like not in like in first person shooters or that kind of thing. Like there does tend to be at least some. In these kind of like super nerdy games, they're even rarer. But if you're a female, let me know. You know, it'd be cool to say hello in the comments because you are a rare person and we appreciate you. So, anyway, let's continue on with our dive into the amount of damage that is done as you increase the number of units. So, armored cars follow the same trend, the same general trend. And if you get this spreadsheet, it is gonna be. I'm going to share this again in the description below. Um, but if you get it, you actually can see the values. So it's a real spreadsheet. This person put in a lot of work and really did a good job. But let's look at armored cars. Armored cars follow the same exact sort of thing when it comes to defense damage, right? So this is oh, I skipped over to defense damage. Dang it. But that's okay. Attack damage. Let's come back over. Here we go. It's the same general rule for defense damage, except for armored cars. Do have a much better. Let's just jump back and forth between that. You can see armored car defense damage is higher because they defend better than they attack. But since I'm kind of talking about what these units are used for, I'm going to leave it under defense damage because that's really hopefully you're defending with your armored cars and attacking with your cavalry. They're sort of opposites. One defends really well, armored car. One attacks really well, cavalry, attacking at roughly twice the amount and defending at twice the amount of infantry relative. So anyway, it's the same sort of thing here. Once you get to 40, you might as well not have any more armored cars defending, unless you want to have people in the backfield as reinforcements to step forward. If somebody's coming at you, just fully coming at you, and into a fort, and you've taken refuge in this fort, you've got cannon in your fort, you've run out maybe 50 guys to keep anybody from coming at your fort and shutting down your cannon. You've got to run somebody out there. You're like, hey, why don't you go out there? And they're like, I don't want to go out there. And you're like, yeah, but you should go out there. Anyway, you send somebody out there to keep them from bum rushing you and making your cannon. Anyway, you're having a struggle. You're struggling here. Um, you probably want to stack as much crap in that bunker as you can get in there, and just let the next 5 armored cars move to the front and take that damage for you, right? The defense damage is going to get added to the stack, and your stack is going to stay at this maximum defense damage of 35.8 for a long time, as long as you have reinforcements to come in and defend. So I think, especially when it comes to defense, go ahead and stack them. All right, let's go back to attack damage as we look at these other units. So we're going to look at tanks. Here we go. And we can see tanks are very similar, except for tanks reach their maximum attack damage at 25. 25. So it looks like they go up in groups of 5, and then lesser in the next group of 5, and then the next group of 10 is linear, fairly consistent. Each additional tank not giving you much, just 1.2, as if you had added an infantry instead of a tank. That's pretty heavy duty, right? So early, the increase in damage is, of course, 4 because it's a tank. But by the time you get up here, the increase in damage is just 1.5. And again, these spreadsheets, if you hover over the red part, it tells you the increase. This is a great spreadsheet. So again, tanks max out at 25. Again, if you want to maximize your tanks, run in a stack of 5 tanks. And then I'd have a bunch of infantry around them, though, as meat shields. Add some hit points to that bundle, because your tanks will still attack here at a beefy 20. The 5 tanks, that's a nice attack amount. And then you can have a big swarm of infantry to help absorb damage. Same thing with heavy tanks over here. They also will max out at 25. You can see over here the increase is 6 per because they're heavy tanks and they're awesome. The max of 5 tanks is 30. Again, because they're awesome. Same thing happens with cavalry. As you can see here, the cavalry do attack at 2.4 rather. That's twice the amount of an infantry. But here's where things get interesting. So again, with all of your ground units, you need to consider the fact that after 5, they become less effective. And then, you can kind of refer to these spreadsheets if you want, but then the idea that most of them after 40 are just not, and then tanks after 25 are just nothing. You can add as many after 25, it will not increase. But here's what I love. Artillery, oh yeah, go to town. As many as you want, it's always going to add 1.5. So that's where you have in these late game battles, you have 50, 60, 70, I've seen 120, artillery. All of them are attacking at 1.5 each. There is no decrease for additional stuff. Now, here's something really interesting. I mean, just super bizarre. Hot air balloons. I would love to see a game. Maybe I can cast a game. Look at this. If you have 50 hot air balloons, they attack at 25. And it's infinite. It goes on forever. I mean, what? That's nuts. And I don't know if that's versus air. It should be against versus air. We'll have to look into that. It'd be so much fun if that was versus ground. It could be versus ground, like you're dropping grenades on people down below or something. But it'd be fun if it was versus ground, because you can buy hot air balloons as soon as you got an airfield. I'm pretty sure you just need like a workshop, maybe a level 2. You certainly don't need, I don't think you need a factory. Now I'm kind of talking without knowledge here, which is unfortunate. But I know it's the first air unit you can build. It'd be so cool to build like 50 of them, and then all of a sudden it's like this death swarm of balloons that just goes around destroying infantry, and infantry's not good against air, so there's nothing they can do, and they haven't developed any air yet because it's so early in the game. I'm going to look into that. Balloon only. Oh my gosh. And it's infinite. It keeps going. Like you can have 100 balloons, and let's see, if 50 does 25 damage, then 100 would do 50 damage. 50 damage is nuts. That's so much damage. All right, we will have to look in to whether or not. Now, here's another cool thing. People disparage railguns. I think railguns are really good for coastal defense. Most people agree with that. I do also think that railguns are pretty effective in my Mesopotamia mode, which I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a super oil field in the middle, and then it's surrounded by 4 double resource tiles. So what I do is once I get one of those islands of power, and it's not really an island, you're surrounded by land around that, but one of those sort of sectors of power, I super stack those 4 around, and then I put a few railgun in the middle because they're powerful enough to throw over those and into whoever's attacking those outer 4. So I mean, there's certain times when it might be effective. But look at this. This is linear forever too. So if by some miracle you had 50 railguns, they would throw that huge distance 150 damage. Like, that's nuts. This is kind of meaningless, as is the balloon information, but this is important. Light cruisers, I've had stacks of 30 or 40 of them. Like, you can build them because they're cheap. You can build them fast. You only need a level 1 factory and a harbor to build them, so you can get them early in the game. And I love it that they're linear forever. There's no limit. There's no, you don't have to stop or send in groups of 5 or any of that crap. So again, that's a cool thing to know. All naval units act in that way. So battleships, I think about 50 battleships would be nuts. 300 damage and such a long distance lob. What beauty that would be. I've never seen anything close to that. Right now I'm in a game where me and my several allies, I think together we have 6 or 7 battleships, and we're real proud of that. And then a bunch of cruisers. Submarines do the same. Fighters do the same, and bombers. Oh, so yeah, fighters. Why is this both? Is that redone? I don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something. Versus ground and versus air. Hold on, let's go back. Maybe I missed this. Back and look at the balloon, because this matters, folks. Balloon, it just says attack. It doesn't say versus. So I'm just taking that to mean it's versus both. So there. How do you like me now? Okay, so this is fighters versus air and fighters versus ground. This is important. It's definitely different because they're almost useless against the ground, right? They're not very effective against the ground. But against other air, they're just devastating. So they're really, really good. Okay, same with bombers in reverse, right? Bombers are great versus the ground and not as good versus the air. But none of that really matters. The important thing here is, again, it's linear and it's infinite. So you really don't have to worry about that curving off. So again, the curving off only happens with ground units, and it happens faster with the tanks, right, at 25 than it does with the others. And then don't forget that good old artillery is also infinite. So that's not even really considered a ground unit, I guess. I mean, it is on the ground, but it's a long distance lobbing unit. So maybe we can talk about the ground infantry units. I'm sorry, the ground melee units that have to engage directly with other, even though tanks can shoot a shell, it's not long distance, right? Okay, so thanks for checking in, guys. This is another game mechanics episode. So again, if you see the tables and graphs and you're not into that, just like the video and move on with your life to something else. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Adios, amigos.